BuckIQ is back, baby. And the Silver Bullets back too. That's Zach Boren. I'm Austin Ward. BuckIQ back for another year. It is easily my favorite show, getting Zach's thoughts and analysis. We're going to break down the film, but that was last year's question, right? The Silver Bullets, have they earned it? For week one, I'm not sure how you could say no, Zach.
That was a great segue into this episode. First one of the year, and I can firmly say that after week one, the Silver Bullets are back. Now, we'll see after week two, but man, after a performance, week one, giving up, 167 total yards, the way that they ran to the football, attacked. Ryan Day's been talking about the length and athleticism of this defense all offseason. Buckeye Nation saw it on Saturday, and man, did it look good.
I think what's most interesting about this, Zach, is that Jim Knowles said they practiced maybe 5 snaps against the triple option, and then Indiana ran that the whole game. So it seemed like a group of veterans was able to adjust quickly. They rallied to the football. They might not have subbed as much in the back end as they anticipated or couldn't get a lot of personnel groupings, but for figuring something out on the fly, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that they could have faced, and they definitely answered the bell.
How many times have we talked about that on the show, right? Can the defense adjust to it? Can they read and react from what they're seeing? You ran a defense out there that Jim Knowles talked about it. He said they practiced 5 plays against triple option leading up to this game. Indiana came out and said, hey, the new clock rules, we're going to minimize as many possessions as the Ohio State offense can get, and we're going to try and control the football. And stopping the triple option, people might think, oh, it's triple option. They're going to run the football. It's tough. You have to be fundamentally sound. There's a reason why, Navy ran it for so long. Army runs it. It is a very challenging offense to go against. I know as a linebacker, it was my least favorite thing to go against because you almost have to sit there and wait so much because you got to make sure, hey, the run fake goes. Okay, he keeps it. I need to make sure my defensive end's doing the correct job. Is he taking the dive back? Is he taking the quarterback? What are the different calls? And so you have to make sure everyone is on the same page at all times. And with that being the very first game of the season, not knowing that's what you're going to face, and that's all Indiana threw at you, God dang, that's got to be exciting, though. For Jim Knowles, it's got to be exciting for the rest of Buckeye Nation.
Yeah, it certainly sets the tone, right? You play week one, you give up that amount of yardage that you mentioned, and only 3 points. You don't give up a touchdown. The Buckeyes afterwards, 3 points is too many. Our goal is 0. Well, that's great to have that as a goal, but you can still be satisfied if you come close to that because 3 points is going to win you a lot of football games.
100% it is. 3 points is going to win you a lot of football games. Aside from that, this is what I love. And yeah, the expectations are give up 0 points. And as a defensive guy myself and defensively, first-minded, yeah, I would want to say the same thing too as, hey, we're only going to give up 0 points this game and we're not going to score. I think I made the comment at Land Grant Brewing Monday night. If this defense doesn't get points, guess what? You're going to win a lot of football games. But to give up 3 points and to be able to play the way that you did with guys running downhill, guys pursuing to the football. How many times do we see early on the season in Austin? I can't tell you how many years now running on BuckIQ that we talked about missed tackles early on in games. We talked about the very first play of the Notre Dame game last year, big plays, right? There were no big plays given up by this defense. They tackled soundly. There were open field tackles where the safeties, Josh Proctor, Sonny Styles, were making plays. You had all 3 corners coming down and supporting the run. When's the last time you saw a Buckeye defense come downhill, play with a presence, have low pads, be sure tacklers? I mean, God, it just from the first game, and I know I'm super excited, and I'm putting them probably setting them up to fail. But for the first game of the season, for how difficult that was, I don't think people realize how hard of a game that was going into Indiana.
Well, let's think here. You mentioned the first play last year against Notre Dame. I wonder who was involved in that and who may have answered the bell on Saturday against Indiana. I wonder who that could be. Josh Proctor, perhaps, Zach?
For sure. We've talked about some of his mental mistakes year over year, and I think we've all, I know the coaches included, have high expectations, very high expectations. And for them for him to be able to come out and set the tone as good as he did this past week and play the way that he did and not have any MAs and be the sure tackler that I think everyone knows that he can be when he first came up to campus. I mean, my God, man, that's exciting news. I know there's a lot of young guys that, including myself, are excited to see on the back end. But if you have a Josh Proctor who's able to put up that kind of production next to Lathan Ransom, when you've got, Hancock, Burke, and OGB playing the way that they are, that back end is scary good.
Well, it feels like we should take a closer look at that Josh Proctor game then. And it feels good to say this for the first time this year. Zach is going to tell us what Josh Proctor did at Indiana, and we're going to roll the tape. All right, Zach, here we go. Early on, got to go set the tone. You're seeing the option, and here comes Josh Proctor from deep in the middle of the field to make a play.
For sure. And this is where he jumped out at me very first. And if you look at this triple option, okay, 7 minutes left in the first quarter, Ohio State has seen this already. What are the adjustments we're going to make? You see Sawyer take the dive back, right? This is exactly how you play the triple option. You've got Sonny Styles coming up saying, all right, I've got quarterback. Now your safety, he needs to come downhill and he's in charge of the running back with the other guys pursuing from the inside. You see right here, he's downhill. He started back, 10 yards. And now he's going to beat this. He's going to meet this guy 3 yards back in the backfield. You can see the guys pursuing from the inside with Sonny Styles, Sawyer, and the rest of the crew coming. But what I love the most, look at the angle. He knows all of his help is on the inside, right? He needs to get to the running back's outside shoulders, the way they call it. Would I have liked him to break down a little bit more? Yes. But Josh Proctor is a missile. That's the way he's always played. So you see him right here being able to make the tackle, 3-yard loss from starting 10 yards back. This is reading, reacting. This is understanding what you're seeing in front of you, and this is making a play.
Yeah, that's a great point, Zach, because you see, we know that Josh Proctor can decapitate somebody. We've seen that Jack Cohn probably still feeling the hits from that a couple years ago in that Big Ten championship game. This is not the biggest hit. It looked kind of nasty and hard hitting up front, but he doesn't get a great piece on the tackle here. But that's because what you're talking about, hitting the outside shoulder, because you look to the inside, there's Jack Sawyer, there's Sonny Styles, and Tommy Eichenberg all in position if it does get cut back inside.
Correct. This is exactly what he's supposed to do. And how many times in previous years have we seen Josh Proctor get his eyes stuck somewhere where they shouldn't be, right? He's going somewhere, taking a bad angle, having an MA. He's kind of like a step or two short. We've seen it so many times. Here, he trusts his instincts, realizes hey, Jack and Tommy have the dive back. Sonny's got the quarterback. I know for a fact I've got a blocker that's coming out to get me, and I've got the running back, but I have to take a great angle knowing, hey, listen, there's no one to my outside. All of my help is on the inside. I need to take the right angle, get downhill, and make a play, and that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, and sometimes, as you're going to see here, this play goes for a first down. Those happen in games. Indiana's got scholarship players too, but a lot of this conversation about Josh Proctor now that's been going on the 5 years before is hey, can you make sure that the guy gets down? If not, if something goes wrong, can you be the eraser? That's what Jordan Fuller did so well before him. He's not even solely responsible for this, but you can tell that this play is not going out the gate.
No, he's not. But if you go back a second and you pause it, so many times, Josh, you pause it right here. So many times we've seen Josh Proctor's okay, I'm reading. What do I see? How many times do we see him almost bail out to the running back? Because, okay, listen, that's where I think I'm supposed to be. But completely loses focus of where the ball is. And next you know, the running back breaks one tackle and takes it out the back, right? Josh actually sees it. He reacts to it. Guess what? I know that dive back's got the football. I'm going to close down on this. Yes, they're going to get the first down. But guess what? It turns into a 4 or 5 yard gain instead of breaking a large one for a 55-yard touchdown or whatever it might be that we've seen in the past because Josh plays with bad eyes. Now, guess what? He's learned. He's watched the tape. He's settling down. It's almost like when you start relaxing and let the game come to you and read and react, which we talk about every time, and I feel like I've already said it 4 times on the show.
I love it.
That guess what? He's now making the plays, right? We saw so many times runs go the distance and the big ones hit because the guys in the secondary or guys at the linebacker position get fooled with their eyes and run where they shouldn't go. Josh Proctor sees it, comes down on it, closes. Yes, it's the first yard, but guess what? It's a first down, but guess what? 5 yards and we play again.
Yep. The great part about that safety position and a safety-driven defense, you got to be able to play the run and pass the same. Josh Proctor, 4th and 4, right before halftime here. This winds up being pretty significant for Ohio State.
This is what I love here as well. It's a little bit of a pick play if you go back and look at this. And Josh Proctor so many times has gotten confused with, okay, there's a guy that's crossing my face. I'm going to run with him. Instead, you have to trust the system. Hey, you can see Tommy dropping behind him. Tommy's obviously got the inside receiver. It's a simple trade-off right here. Josh Proctor is responsible for the flats. He needs to make sure he gets out there. 4th and 4, huge play, 7-3, right before halftime. Josh, instead of sitting there on the guy who crossed his face early on that you can see in the clip, if you run this back just a little bit more, if you run it right here, they run this guy across Josh's face. What they hope is Josh sits on him or goes with them instead of trusting the trade-off. Josh doesn't take the bait. He closes on this, uses his eyes, and comes down and makes the play. This is top notch. I mean, this is a very hard route to stop. People think, oh, it's a simple out route. But when someone runs across your face and you get color across from you, you always want to slow down or stop and check that guy. Or it pauses you for a second. Josh trusts that Tommy's on his inside, sees what it is, gets to the out route and makes a play.
All right, so probably wouldn't be fair to just say that Josh Proctor played perfectly. Let's be honest about it. He had one of the better games he's had in a long time. But I know that there were people that asked about, this game, like, oh, is Josh Proctor going to go back to missing tackles? Can he do this role full time? Is Malik Hartford going to take the role? Well, I mean, Proctor's game was good. And if this was the worst that he could do, I think Ohio State could probably live with the effort.
Correct. I agree with you. And yes, we saw it play one that we already broke down. There's times where he's got to break down and make the play. You can obviously see here Josh is thinking like, hey, this wide receiver's going to catch the ball and continue at this angle, and I'm just going to decapitate him, right? Instead of breaking down right here and be like, okay, guess what? Get my feet underneath me, be able to break. The guy can take it flat after he catches the football. But what I love about this is Josh goes down and still recovers and makes the play. And the other thing is, I think this was the longest play of the day for Indiana. It's a, 15, 16-yard pass play, whatever it might be. But you still see guys swarming to the football. Look at this as well. Jordan Hancock, look at that. Making sure that he keeps leverage, knows where my help is. Denzel Burke, he's the one who somewhat got beat. Granted, I think this is a cover 3 look that they're showing. So he's like, hey, I got my help to the inside. But these guys are playing with leverage and they're running to the football. That's what I love. And they're sure tacklers. I mean, how many times have we seen this where a guy makes a play, someone takes a bad angle, and he's off to the races? We saw it multiple times, especially in the final 2 games last year, right?
Yeah.
Look at what these guys are doing now. You can see the emphasis of running to the football, making tackles, making sure that guy gets down to the ground, and then playing again.
Well, I think 3 points and a fun BuckIQ like this is a good way to start the year, Zach. I don't know. What do you think?
I hope to have a lot more of these throughout the year. And I can't wait to break Silver Bullet defense. I mean, there's still so much more that we haven't gotten to break down. People want to talk about the pass rush this past weekend. Guess what? It's a team that showed triple option that up until the midway through the fourth quarter had thrown 12 passes. They finally realized they had to throw the ball late in the game. But this defense is an attacking Silver Bullet defense. And from week 1, I know people want to, talk trash about the way this Ohio State team looked. You couldn't have asked for a more solid performance, especially on the defense side of the football.
All right. 1-0, and the Silver Bullets earned that moniker this week. We're going to keep track. Make sure Zach wants them to go 12-0 during the regular season by earning that status, right? That's the goal.
That's a goal. I called it last week at Land Grant, and I'll say it again even after week 1. 12-0 is what I see, and this defense is going to set the pace for this team this year.
All right, we're going to break it down every week as we have for the last couple of years. I love Zach Boren's analysis and insight. I hope you do too. Thanks for joining us for the first BuckIQ of the season. For Zach, I'm Austin. We'll see you later.